Today I want to cook for you a pilaf rice with a not obvious but very simple secret ingredient which changes the taste completely. So I've got 2 medium onions here. I'm just going to chop these. I'm just going to top and tail them and take the skin off. All we want to do, we're not dicing these onions, we're slicing them. So slice them fairly thin, just a couple of mils thick. Once you've got all your onions sliced, add good old olive oil, 6 tablespoons. So a lot of olive oil into the bottom of your pan, and this is for a reason. I have my pot on the small ring because we are just going to cook these onions at a low heat. These onions will take about 10 minutes to get to the colour that we want. So just get your wooden spoon and break up those onions so that there's lots of wee individual strands of onions, coating them in all the oil, and we'll just keep that at a low heat and let them saute. So that's them all broken down. So keep your eye on your onions and just keep mixing them. Don't mix them too often though, because we want these to caramelise and get a really good colour. Whilst your onions are sauteing, I've got a family of 4 and I always make this rice in big batches. So I have got 3 cups of dried Basmati rice, and what you need to do is get a sieve and cover this with water and really clean it. And it takes about 5 times of fresh water and emptying the water and giving it a good mix around until it's clean. I'm embarrassed to say that when I was younger, I never realised that you were supposed to rinse the rice until the water ran clean. And the difference, when I realised, was probably only about, I would say, not a decade ago anyway, but when I realised you were supposed to rinse the rice, the taste difference is unbelievable. It actually tastes dirty. There was one time that I forgot to rinse it after that, and it was extremely noticeable, the taste. So I do not want to know why you're supposed to rinse rice, because I think that might make me feel sick. But please remember to rinse your rice. And so we'll just rinse that until the water's clear. When your onions reach this colour, that is them ready. You can see they've got some nice caramelisation there. So that is them ready. So you want to take your onions out of your dish. Trying your best to leave in the pot all the oil that is left over. So we just want to lift out the onions and kind of drain off as much oil as you can. So you can see that I've got oil here, but that is probably not enough. So if you have none or not a lot left in your pot, add another couple of tablespoons in the bottom of your pot. Don't clean your pot. The taste of the onions matters in your pot here. So rice likes a hot heat. What we're going to do now is we're going to add our rice. So there's 3 cups of rice here. A cup is the equivalent of 250 grams, so I have 750 grams of rice here. Again, I have a family, so I usually do cook this amount of rice. If you don't have a family, then know that you can cook this amount and portion it off and put it in the freezer. It's dead simple to reheat. You just defrost it and then pop it into the microwave for for 2 minutes. Now what you want to do is mix the rice round and get the oil coating the rice. Then to this, we are going to add 2 teaspoons of cinnamon and shake that over your rice. 1 teaspoon of coriander. 3/4 of a teaspoon of mixed spice. Half a teaspoon of ground cumin. And half a teaspoon of turmeric. Lots of flavour in there. Now, the secret ingredient. The onions are one thing that will change the taste of this rice completely, but the other secret ingredient, so simple, is a vegetable stock cube. So just break that up and pop that in with your rice. Now what you want to do is coat your rice and all the spices into your pot, and whilst that is cooking, quickly pop on your kettle of boiling water. Once all your spices is mixed through onto the rice, just to level out your rice nice and flat like that. Take note how much rice is in the pot at the moment. That's about halfway in the pot. When you're putting your boiling water into your pot, you want to make it at least a centimetre above the level of your rice. I've got quite a lot of rice in here today, so I'm just going to make it a wee bit deeper than that. Your rice will almost double in size with this amount of water in it. So we are now just going to not touch this, and we're going to put the lid on, keep it at a high heat and turn the timer on to 11 minutes. Don't be tempted to leave your rice. If it boils dry, your rice will burn. Wait here and listen for the sounds of silence that will tell you that there is no water left in that pot. You want your pot to still be sizzling when your timer goes off. If your rice is past about 3/4 of the way cooked and your pot runs dry, you can just turn the cooker off. The heat that is within the pot that's in the rice already will continue to steam it until it's cooked. My timer is at a minute to go and my pot is beginning to sound like it's going quiet. So I'm going to turn my heat off. I'm going to take this lid off and you can see how full that pot is. This is where you would want to get the onions that you set aside earlier. Pop them on top like this and then spread them over like a wee blanket. Get a piece of kitchen roll, pop that on top, and this helps to keep the steam in, all the heat in, and then you just leave that for another 40 minutes. So after the 40 minutes, take the lid off, kitchen roll off, and if I peel back the onions, you can see that the rice kinda has fluffed itself up. So that is obviously ready. So just take the onions back a wee bit and fluff up the rice. And just mix the onions through. The pot's a bit full. I sometimes feel though that if you use a bigger pot that it'll not be as snug and steam as well, but maybe you could put ever so slightly less rice in the pot. So it would be pretty messy to fluff up the whole pot of rice. My husband and I totally love having all of these sautéed onions through the rice. So what we usually do is just fluff up what we need and use all of these onions. When we portion off the leftovers and when we're reheating them, we just cook more onions because onions just taste so awesome. This is so yummy that you could have it as a meal on its own. You could maybe add some shredded chicken through it. I've tasted this already and it's just before dinner time, so I could really just keep on eating that. It's the onions that have a sweetness in it that really complements the rice. We are having it. I made some dhaal last week, so I took this tub out of the freezer, but that is obviously not enough for a family to eat, hence me making the rice. And we've got some leftover naan dough, so we'll have that as well. So naan, pilaf rice and dhaal, perfect combination. Okay, one more. A little bit of naan, a little bit of dhaal and a little bit of rice.